If you're a college player and you're a great college player, like Caitlin was,
And you thought this was going to be Paige, and instead it's Caitlin.
the delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players.
Gino, just say you're a UConn guy.
She's not just competent, she is extraordinarily talented, especially in light of her inexperience and youth.
Female superstar, she is a superstar. She moves the needle. You already have a pretty high level of basketball, and then you add in a superstar in Caitlin Clark to the league.
One person, though, failed to see her potential.
She needs to be on a better team, and she needs to be more experienced. And that will come. Ridiculous fans who had her slotted as the next Diana now.
Every time Caitlin gets fouled, we can't make it seem like she was assaulted.
In an insightful interview with Dan Patrick earlier this year, legendary women's basketball coach Gina Auriemma shared his candid thoughts on the WNBA, specifically the trajectory of rookie star Caitlin Clark. His comments, particularly about Clark's performance and the physical demands of the league, have sparked ongoing discussions within the basketball community. At the time of the interview, the Indiana Fever was struggling. That same night, Caitlin Clark dropped an impressive 30 points on the Washington Mystics. Yet, Gino Auriemma's take seemed skeptical. "This kid's on the wrong team," he remarked. "She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality in this league." It was a comment that raised many eyebrows, especially since Clark had just recorded her second 30-point game in her rookie season. Despite this accomplishment, Auriemma doubted her ability to navigate the physical play style that defines the WNBA. Fast forward a few months, and Clark has not only sustained her performance, but added yet another 30-point game to her growing resume. Still, Gino's critique about her physicality lingers in the public consciousness. He emphasized that when a team wins a lot, the spotlight naturally shifts to their star players. And while Caitlin Clark was racking up the numbers, Auriemma wondered aloud, who's the best player? Who's the best team? It's a debate that's as old as professional sports itself. The question of whether the best player always comes from the best team is one that fans, pundits, and coaches have wrestled with for decades. Auriemma, a staunch supporter of his UConn alumna Paige Bueckers, couldn't resist comparing the two players. While Paige had been sidelined due to injury, her legacy at UConn, where she was hailed as one of the best guard recruits ever, still loomed large. Caitlin Clark, by contrast, was facing the rigor and grind of her rookie year in the WNBA. Yet, as Auriemma noted, both players approached the game differently. Paige played with a cool efficiency, thriving within a system. Clark, on the other hand, often had to shoulder the load for her team, embodying a more individualistic and explosive style of play. However, Auriemma's remarks about Clark's physicality are what ignited the most discussion. "She's just not quick enough to get away from the physicality of this league," he insisted. For a rookie who had already racked up 3 30-point games, this critique seemed oddly timed. Many pointed out that Clark's skills were more than compensating for whatever physical challenges she faced. Nevertheless, Auriemma wasn't convinced, stating that Clark's game, while impressive, might not be sustainable long-term in the WNBA. At this point, it's worth revisiting Auriemma's broader perspective on women's basketball. His loyalty to UConn is well known, and his influence in selecting players for Team USA is undeniable. Critics have noted that Auriemma has, at times, favored his former players over arguably more deserving candidates. One of the most glaring examples was when he passed over WNBA MVP Nneka Ogwumike in favor of Breanna Stewart, who was fresh out of college. That decision raised questions about his objectivity, and those same concerns seem to linger now with his assessment of Clark. The 2020 ESPN recruiting class, of which both Clark and Bueckers were a part, was heralded as one of the most talented in years. At the time, Bueckers was the crown jewel, widely regarded as the top prospect and a game-changing guard. She had no weaknesses and dominated at every level, including with Team USA, where she routinely outshone players 2 years her senior. Comparatively, Clark wasn't viewed as the superior player back then, but as time has passed, Clark's unique talent and ability to take over games have propelled her into a different tier of stardom. Even as Clark's name ascends in the basketball world, there remains a vocal segment of fans who downplay her impact, attributing much of the buzz to media hype. Some go as far as to say her fanbase disrespects current WNBA players by assuming Clark will walk in and dominate. As Auriemma noted, these people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. He wasn't just referring to Clark's fans, but to the broader conversation around women's basketball, where hype can sometimes cloud reasoned analysis. Still, Auriemma's critique seemed out of sync with the current state of Clark's career. Her numbers speak for themselves, and while the physicality of the league is certainly a challenge, Clark has managed to thrive. But Gino's skepticism goes beyond just her numbers. He believes the physical toll of the WNBA might wear Clark down over time, and she might not have the tools to fully handle it. His comment about her being on the wrong team was especially poignant, as it hinted at deeper issues within the favor organization, issues that go beyond Clark herself. One aspect of this entire debate that often gets overlooked is the racial dynamics at play. As with many facets of American sports, conversations about race often lurk beneath the surface. Auriemma's comments about Clark, a white player, may have unintentionally touched on larger cultural biases in how we evaluate players. Many have pointed out that the hype surrounding Clark mirrors the kind of tension that often surrounds white players in predominantly black leagues, whether it's basketball or any other sport. It's a topic that's difficult to navigate, but it's worth noting that much of the discourse around Clark feels eerily similar to past discussions about other white stars in the league. There's a sense that some of the praise she receives is a bit inflated, given that other players with similar or even superior skills don't always get the same attention. This isn't to say that Clark isn't deserving of the accolades. She is, but the context in which her success is discussed matters. Back to Gino Auriemma's role in all of this. His legendary career at UConn is marked by multiple championships and a reputation for developing top-tier talent. But it's been 7 years since his last national title, and many believe his influence has waned. South Carolina's Dawn Staley has emerged as the new standard-bearer for dominance in women's basketball, both at the collegiate level and beyond. Staley's recent success, including her team's victory over Auriemma's Huskies, signals a shift in power. Even as Auriemma's dominance fades, his opinions still hold considerable weight. But some, like commentator Nick Wright, believe that Auriemma is stuck in the past. Wright suggested that Gino's adherence to an older style of play and his bias toward UConn players might be clouding his judgment. The fact that Clark didn't choose UConn for college-likely factors into Auriemma's less-than-glowing assessment. As Wright noted, everything Gino looks for in a guard, the qualities that brought him so many national titles, doesn't quite fit with Clark's style of play. But perhaps the most important takeaway from this entire discussion is the broader state of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark, regardless of Gino Auriemma's critiques, is elevating the sport in a way that few others have. Her presence has brought new attention to the WNBA, and her playing style, fast-paced, aggressive, and unpredictable, is a breath of fresh air in a league often criticized for being too rigid. There's no denying that Clark still has a lot to prove. Her rookie season is just the beginning, and while she's faced some growing pains, the potential for greatness is evident. Even Auriemma, with all his doubts, acknowledges that she has the tools to be special. But the debate around Clark isn't just about her individual talents. It's about the future of women's basketball and whether the sport is ready to embrace new styles of play that break from tradition. As the WNBA continues to grow, players like Caitlin Clark will likely be at the forefront of its evolution. She's already lifted the sport to new heights, and if her rookie year is any indication, she's far from done. Auriemma's comments, while critical, ultimately underscore just how impactful Clark has been. In a league where rookies are often given time to develop, she's making waves from day one. The real question isn't whether Caitlin Clark can handle the physicality of the league, it's whether the league can keep up with her. And from what we've seen so far, that answer is becoming increasingly clear.